With less than 2 months away until we can finally get our hands on the upcoming God of War Ragnarok, fans, just like myself, have theorized about what we could see featured in this game. This is not that kind of video. In this video, we will be going over everything we know to be confirmed about God of War Ragnarok at this point in time. No speculation in this one, so feel free to consult my extensive playlist on God of War Ragnarok, where I mention possible new features we're likely to see throughout this massive next installment in this storied franchise. I've got you covered in a brief outlining of the story, new gameplay elements added to God of War Ragnarok, including both combat and traversal elements, quality of life updates, and a variety of other confirmed information that you won't want to miss. No leaks or spoilers here either, of which you will never see on my channel unless I explicitly state it beforehand. With that out of the way, let's take a look at what we know about the story.
I just want answers.
And if those answers lead to war with Asgard?
Maybe that's what Mother wanted.
We do not know what Mother wanted.
Sony Santa Monica claims that the story in God of War Ragnarok takes place a few years after the previous game ended. Atreus is seen a bit taller, and we now see Thor with his mighty hammer, the Mjolnir, at Kratos' doorstep. Ragnarok is coming, and the fabled Fimbulwinter, which is the 3-year-long period of prolonged winter with ferocious blizzards and heavy snow, has blanketed Midgard before the foreboding Ragnarok. According to the game's listing on the PlayStation Store, the game will take place across all 9 realms this time, as the previous game only saw players able to traverse 6 realms. With the addition of Vanaheim, Svartalheim, and Asgard, the game is slated to be a much grander and more ambitious game than those before it. Kratos comes into contact with Tyr, the Norse god of war, as seen here, and although we don't know how their interactions will go at this point, a lot can be inferred based on the events of the previous game. Back in the story are Freya, Mimir, Brock, Sindri, and more from the previous game, and many new characters are being introduced in this new story in God of War Ragnarok. Players will take control of Kratos, and will come across many a god and monsters from these 9 realms. The game's listing from the PlayStation Store concludes with, Kratos and Atreus must choose between their own safety and the safety of the realms. Now, the game's previous director, Cory Barlog, has said that God of War Ragnarok will serve as the final game in Kratos' Norse saga, and didn't want to be tied down to a traditional 3-part trilogy for the game to take place. That being said, all indicators are hinting at a larger game than the previous outing. Combat and pacing is largely going to stay quite similar to the previous God of War 2018, with a mix of enemy and boss encounters, coupled with some traversal and calm reflective moments for Kratos and Atreus to soak up the worlds they surround themselves in. As the pacing will be quite similar to their previous outing, new combat mechanics have been added to God of War Ragnarok to further expand Kratos and Atreus' arsenal of offensive and defensive abilities. New to God of War Ragnarok is Kratos' abilities to use his Blades of Chaos as grappling hooks to ascend tall structures and to grapple to enemies, as seen here. The more recent Game Informer videos have outlined even more new abilities for Kratos, including weapon signature moves, of which can be used once Kratos hits or holds down the triangle button. Upon doing so, the signature move will be engaged, thus further empowering the elemental damage component of the weapon he currently wields, and unlocks a further suite of moves at his disposal, with added incineration and flame abilities to the Blades of Chaos, and more ice and frost properties added to the Leviathan Axe. Atreus has some new runic summons to be learned in God of War Ragnarok as well. Getting back to Kratos, he can employ one of 2 new shield types. The Dauntless Shield is a smaller shield that is excellent in parrying enemy attacks and bashing enemies into the air upon successful parry, stunning them in the process. The other new shield type, the Stonewall Shield, is much tankier and is great at blocking and deflecting attacks. When the shield's block segments are full, Kratos can expend them to unleash an area of effect shield bash that sends enemies into the air similarly to the Dauntless Shield. As far as traversal modes, we have seen 2 modes of vehicle transportation outside of going by foot. The canoe, as featured in the previous game, and by sleigh, as we can see 2 wolves pulling Kratos and Atreus across the frigid wastes of Midgard. New puzzles are seen here in the footage of Svartalfheim, with Kratos able to use his axe and blades to freeze over and enable geysers respectively to power up dwarven contraptions to further traverse the game's lands. Odin's celestial birds are seen here in Svartalfheim as well, which hints at this particular collectible returning to God of War Ragnarok. In addition to a slew of new gameplay and combat enhancements to God of War Ragnarok, the team at Sony Santa Monica have been hard at work implementing over 60 accessibility features to allow players to tweak the experience to their liking. Puzzle modifications, controller remapping, pinpointing objectives, subtitle configurations, and much more have all been greatly worked into options that will be able to accommodate players of all levels. Oh, and Spartan Rage returns. Let's get some general housekeeping out of the way, with release dates and platforms. God of War Ragnarok will be launching exclusively on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 on November 9th, 2022, less than 2 months from now. No details as of when, if ever, the game will be released on the PC. Seeing as the PC version of God of War 2018 was released earlier this year, nearly 4 years after the game was out and available on the PlayStation 4, it is likely we will see God of War Ragnarok come out on the PC at some point years in the future.
Well, I recognize that dour expression anywhere. Odin's got tricks up his sleeve we haven't dared to consider.
And there you have it. That is all the confirmed details we know regarding God of War Ragnarok and its upcoming release. Let me know if I missed anything, as I will make updates as we get them leading up to the game's release. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you love it, go on and subscribe. When the channel grows, I'll be doing numerous giveaways of games, and who knows, you may just be one out of the many lucky ones to get a new game on your way. If you want even more God of War Ragnarok content, consult this playlist pinned at the top for a series of videos I've done regarding some features we can expect and hope to see in God of War Ragnarok. Also, Sony Santa Monica Studio has been very tight-lipped as to the amount of information they release surrounding God of War Ragnarok. With the game coming out in less than 2 months, some fans are eager to see more proper marketing for the game. Check this video out here if you want some more insight as to why there is so much silence behind God of War Ragnarok. And with that, take care and see you all real soon. Peace, good people.